Just got done snow blowing the slush off the driveway. We got about, maybe an inch, 2 inches of snow. Then it changed to freezing rain. And then rain, which it's doing right now. It just made a slushy mess. So it was a little bit of work getting the driveway cleared up. You can see the ice on the tree. On the light wiring. I think that shows up. Actually looks pretty nice. Anyway, I got some presents, so I'm going to open them on YouTube, seeing everyone else opens their presents they receive in the mail for their YouTube projects. I'm going to do the same thing. As you may have heard me say in the last video, I ordered the sprocket for the engine, the sprocket for the wheel, a new O-ring chain so I can keep it clean. I ordered new rear shock absorbers and a new battery. I bought a LiPo battery for it instead of a lead acid battery. So a couple of the presents came, so let's open up the presents and I'll show you what I got. This present was in like a plastic bag, and I already opened it up out of the plastic bag. And this is the sprocket for the engine. It's a 14 tooth for the, I figured I'm putting a new chain on it. Why not put new sprockets on too, and I'll save the old sprockets. Well, hopefully this opening of this present shows up in the video. I can't see the screen as to what I'm doing here. But this should be the battery. Packaging, or packing slip, I mean. And this is a lithium battery instead of a lead acid battery, so we will use this instead, I think, because the lead acid batteries, they just go dead all the time, and then I don't ride it enough to recharge it and they go bad. The lead acid batteries have to be somewhat kept charged. This actually, get it out of the box here, this actually battery is pretty darn light. That's for a charging port. You can get their charger and keep this thing right up to snuff. And this thing, God, it just weighs a fraction of what the lead acid battery, and it comes with the bolts. So my brother uses these. This is what he recommended. He says, yeah, that when he first goes to start his bike with the electric starter, cranks the first revolution like the battery's dead. And he hits it a couple times like that, and that warms the battery up, and then it rips the engine right over, starts it right up. This does not, my bike does not have electric start, but the lead acid battery would go dead from sitting, and then when you'd ride the bike it would recharge it, but you'd come to stops and the tail light would drain on the battery while you're idling, or the turn signals, and it would just run the battery back down because it wasn't charged up. So hopefully this will solve that problem. When I ride in the fields and woods and stuff, I don't really care if the brake light goes dim when you hit the brakes. I mean, it's dimmer than the running light, but when the battery's up, it stays bright, and on the road I want it to stay bright, so that's why I decided to try a lithium battery instead. That's where you'd plug in the balancer charger, and who knows, I might get one. My brother has one. If I can use that on this, I will. Thought I'd just do a little comparison on battery size. You can see the original battery is taller, and the replacement battery is a little wider, but it fits in the case just fine like that. And these batteries, I don't think it matters. It's like your battery in your iPhone or laptops or whatever. It's just a lithium ion. And this one says that you can use your standard charger on this battery, but just not to exceed the limit on the front label, which is 18 amps. And I think the alternator on the motorcycle is about 4 or 5 amps maybe. And I have a 1 amp charger, so this is a maximum of 18 amp charge, so no problem, we can maintain that. And the battery does fit in the case. Hopefully the cover fits on. I don't think it was any thicker. No, it's about the same thickness, so the cover will fit over because that's about how far the lead acid battery would hang out. See, it's about the same distance out. These foam things that come with the packing in the battery are what you're supposed to use in the battery box to make sure the battery fits nice and tight in there. Old sprocket, new one. Yeah, it's not really. It's got a few teeth that are a little curved on it, a little bit of wear, but new sprocket is going on. There's a little groove and then that just turns a little bit. And the bolts go in. Not much to it. Really need to put it in gear to do this, but the shift lever isn't on, and I want to stick it on just to put it in gear, and the shift lever hits this, so I'll have to unloosen the nut here, pull this out a little bit to get the shift lever on. No big deal. Installed. This is what I use to clean wire connections. I just picked this up at Meyer Thrifty Acres, but any like toilet bowl cleaner like this will work. Snowball is what I usually work, but they just happen to have this at Meyer's, so that's what I got. So I just took a cap off of a can of spray paint and filled it up with the toilet bowl cleaner, and when you're done with this, you can just dump it in your toilet bowl and let it clean. So I'll just stick that in there and let it soak, and you can already see, I don't know if it shows up in the video or not, but it's already foaming out of those holes. Let me see if I can get it to where you can see it. And it only takes a few minutes. It'll be cleaned up. You can see how already they're starting to get shiny in there. The key is just making sure you get the thing washed out good so you don't have any acids left over in there. See how nice and clean that is in there now? Doesn't take much to clean it up. Those look like shiny new connectors. I'm going to soak them just a little longer because they were pretty gross. But that gives you an idea how quick it is just to clean up some corroded connectors. Well, that might have been about another 30 seconds, and you can see it's already done foaming. Generally when it's done foaming, the corrosion is cleaned off. So now I'm going to rinse that out with some water and spray it with some WD-40. I'll rinse out the water, blow it out with compressed air, and then spray it. I just suspended it over my mop bucket to keep the garage floor clean during this sloppy weather, and I just have my little fire extinguisher from when I do welding, and I'll just spray that connector out really good with water. That's probably good enough. Now I'll blow it out with some compressed air, and we'll take a look at it. So there it is. But I see it just a tiny bit. You can see down in there where it's kind of red. A little bit of corrosion left. I'll just stick it back in the toilet bowl cleaner for another moment and get that all cleaned out, but it cleans it all up pretty darn nice. And then when I'm all done, like I say, I'll shoot it with some WD-40, and then before I put the connectors in, I'll put some dielectric grease in it. There we go, all cleaned up. Now I just soaked it for maybe another minute. Depends on how bad the corrosion is, how long you got to soak it. I'm going to soak this connector too. And I should have started the video right when I stuck it in. That was when it was really foaming out of there, but that's the corrosion it's eating off. So I soaked this one a little longer, probably about 3 or 4 minutes. And it's done foaming, so I'm going to assume that it's clean. So I'm going to take it out and rinse it off and see how it looks. Tell me that's not a bunch cleaner. Still a few little areas of red where the corrosion was, but I think for the most part that'll be a good connection. So I'll WD-40 these ones again, and then when I plug them together, dielectric grease. So I'm going to go around and clean the rest of the connectors out. This one's for the rectifier, and this one's got a bit of corrosion look in it. So let's see. Look at that thing foam. Yeah, that one really needed. And again, the light's reflecting on the stuff, so it may not show up, but it's really eating the corrosion out of that. The battery one wasn't too bad because I'd put dielectric grease in that connector in the past. That one was pretty good, but this one's pretty raunchy. That's the terminal at the rectifier, and that cleaned up really nice. That was just full of corrosion. Generally, if they haven't had any oil or grease in them, they clean up a lot quicker and easier, but if they have oil or grease in them, clean them off with a little lacquer thinner or something so the acid can get to the metal. But I even cleaned these up. I just held this in the solution down to the edge here so I wouldn't get stuff in it. But it even cleaned those spades off really nicely. I sprayed the connector with WD-40, and then I put the dielectric grease. I kind of squeeze it to where it fills these up a little bit, you know, and starts to come out the end there. Then I wipe the excess off so it's not on the tip. Then when you plug your connector in, it's protected from future corrosion. I cleaned that connector and dielectric greased it, and that one too. Just, you know, held my little cap over there and being careful not to spill it on anything. But we got it all cleaned up, so everyone that probably thought I was pulling their leg over using toilet bowl cleaner to clean connections, light sockets, any metal part really. I mean, you could even put bolts and nuts and screws, or if you have a really rusty bolt, squirt some of this on it. It'll eat the rust off and loosen up quicker and easier. Good stuff to have in your garage. Just a random washer I had. And this is probably weaker now because I've been using it. But it'll clean that up really nice. We'll let it soak for about 5 minutes or until it stops boiling. I strung the wiring harness, connected up all the terminals, but I haven't strapped it to the frame or anything yet. Wait to do that. I gotta fix the connector that goes to the battery. This is what the battery wire plugs in. That goes to all the turn signals and whatnot. I think that's the tail running light. There's a brake light, right and left turn, and grounds and stuff. And like I say, I'll strap all this up once I want to get all the wiring to the lights all completely done and everything hooked up before I strap it to the frame with the straps. I was able to save the straps. I'll just wipe them off a little lacquer thinner and reuse them all. There's a battery hold down strap and the lead acid battery. It'll probably still work. I gotta clean the brake light switching spring up yet and repair this. This is the connector to the battery, and where this connects in here, it's just about broken off. I don't know if that shows up or not, but definitely needs some attention. So I'll give this some attention. There's take a little pointy tool and you can stick it down in there and you can pull a spade and all out, and then I can resolder it. A little spot where you can poke get that connector out in here, and that flattens out the little terminal, and you can push them out or pull them out. Let me get a screwdriver. I gotta move my camera to get it out of the drawer. So anyway, I poked that into that little slot in there and then took a screwdriver and pushed on the spade, and then the spade comes out. Now I can open this all up. I didn't have the camera going, but anyway, I take the little tool here and just open those up a little bit. Let me get another pair of needle nose pliers. So that takes it off where the insulation is, and then I open up this where the wire is, and then I can just reuse this connector. And they're a little bit of fuss. I might just stop the video because sometimes it takes a little bit of horsing to get that off. Alright, so you can see the wire is not in good shape there. Might just replace the whole length of wire. And I cut that wire back to where it was bad, and I put it up to the battery and the bike and everything, make sure all the connectors fit, and there's plenty of extra wire. The key is having that clean where that goes. So I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to pinch it back over, and then I'm going to solder it. Can't get Radio Shack stuff anymore now, and I'm almost out of their solder. But we'll get the soldering gun going here. Like to get it nice and hot. Tin the tip, and then I want to put the heat on it, and then I'll feed the solder elsewhere. When it sucks the solder in, it's done. And then I usually just clean my tip of my gun off like that, and this doesn't stick to anything, it's just loose solder. It's probably even cold by now. So there we go, that's soldered up and repaired. I'll clean it and then put it back together. I use my Weller 820N 140 watt soldering gun I got in an estate sale for I think $1. I have another soldering gun, Weller soldering gun too, that I got in an estate sale, so I have two of them, but the other one's in a nice case. This is the one I use all the time, kind of, you know, an older beat up one, but it works good. Just make sure you bend that little tab back out so it can catch in here, and just shove it back in. Whoops. There we go, just snap back in. So the battery connector end is all repaired. I ended up just putting foam around all four sides of the battery just to, you know, so it fits in there nice and snug. And just to make sure it fit, I took the old side cover and put it on just to make sure that everything fits behind it. It does. So battery's installed. This side cover has got a bad crack in it, so I got a brand new one for it. Let's see what happened to this washer, if I can find it in here. I forgot about it and kind of left it in there for a while, but it definitely cleaned the rust off. That black is paint on it. This was painted too. Yeah, look at that. Other than the paint, let me wipe it off. After. That was probably 10 minutes. I kind of forgot about it and sat in there for about 10 minutes. But that black stuff, like I say, is paint. And cleaned up nice. Got the light assembly off and fixed that rivet, put a new rivet in there, and tightened up all the other rivets just by hitting them with a ball peen hammer. And I cleaned this side of the fender up the best I can. This is originally like a plated metal. These are where the bolts for the taillight and stuff hold in, the rivets. This is what holds the fender here to the bike, and then there's that rubber grommet thing there that holds it to the bar. But I think that's clean enough. I mean, you know, I'm not going to paint it. I'm just going to leave it. That was, like I say, originally plated, and I think I'm just going to leave it as is. It's been on there 43 years and hasn't rusted away. It's actually really solid. No pits or anything. That's from the chloride from the country roads. I have a new front fender. You can kind of see that's kind of like what the plating would have originally looked like. Brand new. I took the rivet that I needed. The front fender was missing a rivet, so I just popped the rivet out of the other one, but you can kind of see. Oh, and this one's in good, you know, looks pretty good. The other one still had mud up in there, but it cleaned up, and I'm going to save this fender. It's nothing wrong with it. Just a couple new rivets in there, and it'll be buff out the plastic. It'll be as good as new. It's got a couple gouges there, but like I say, that'll buff out. You sand it with like 400 and then 600 and then 1200, and then I got this plastic polish, and you can buff this stuff up to be as shiny as paint on a car. So I think I'll call it a day, and we'll buff this up another day. Hit the like button if you enjoyed my video. If you enjoy my channel, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.